Hey folks, Colin here from Something's Recording, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Abbey Road reverb trick. We're going to be talking about EQing reverb today, but before we dive in, if you are ready to go a little bit deeper into the mixing process as a whole and really start to hone your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you. This is my 7-step mixing checklist, and it will guide you through the entire mixing process, step by step, to help you get professional, radio-ready mixes without the hassle and without the guesswork. It is completely free, it's a simple PDF, and you can download it below using the link in the video description. Now let's jump in here and look at EQing reverb. Now the Abbey Road reverb trick at its core is simply EQing your reverb to help it sit and meld with the vocal. So what we're going to do here is, I'm just going to completely delete this EQ on this reverb, and we're going to start from scratch. So we have our lead vocal here sending to our reverb, and let me play you what it sounds like. We'll kind of balance it in the track. Maybe I'll pull it up a little bit higher so everything's a little bit more audible.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so say my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help.
That's what our reverb sounds like currently, right? That's just a normal plate. That's my usual vocal plate. So again, the settings kind of changed when Studio One updated a couple years back to Studio One 5. But all this is about a 2-second plate with 152 millisecond pre-delay. So it pushes the reverb out past the vocal. So your vocal happens first, and then your reverb happens, so they're not muddying each other up. But another step you can take to make sure your reverb doesn't fight with your vocal is to use the Abbey Road reverb trick. All we're going to do here is we're going to stick an EQ on our reverb here. There we go. Let's take a listen to our reverb by itself first.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs.
So 2 things stick out immediately to me when I'm listening to the reverb like this. One is I really don't like all that low-mid energy coming into the reverb. It feels like it blows things up, right? When the vocalist goes down a little bit lower, it kind of gives the reverb a little bit of boost in volume, and I don't like that too much. So first thing we're going to do here for the Abbey Road reverb trick is wipe off the low end with a high-pass filter. So we'll start all the way back here, and we'll just kind of creep it until it's sounding better.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, say my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time.
That feels a lot better to me. It really focuses the reverb on the mid-range, right? And when those low notes come in, when the singer dips a little bit lower in their range, it doesn't blow up the reverb and really muddy up our vocal. Let's put this in with the vocal, and we'll boost it up a little bit so we can hear the effect of it. And I'll A-B the EQ here.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, say my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time.
You can hear without that EQ in, right? our vocal sounds a lot muddier, especially when the vocalist dips it down a little bit in their range to hit those bottom notes on the vocal lines. We get a little bit of a boost of energy from our reverb because the low end kind of blows up our reverb, because that's obviously the most powerful notes feeding into our reverb is that low end. So step one here for our Abbey Road reverb trick is to wipe off the excessive low end. Well, not even excessive low end, is to wipe off the low end and the low mids on your reverb with an EQ to make sure it doesn't muddy up our vocal and we don't get boosts of energy or boosts of volume from the lower notes on our vocal. The next thing we're going to do here is the same thing but with our high end. So the second thing that sticks out to me on the vocal reverb is the high end, especially our sibilance range. It comes through a little bit too strong on the reverb, and when you hear it in context with the vocal, it makes the sibilance range feel a little bit stronger on our vocal, and it gets a little bit too airy sounding up top, especially when we hit S's or T's. So take a listen to our reverb here and listen to what our high end sounds like.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll say my
Let's put that in context with just our vocal. So here's just our vocal and our reverb, and listen to how that high end being in there on our reverb exaggerates the sibilance range.
running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in.
So it's very distracting, right? Whenever any kind of S or T comes around, you really hear it echo out in the reverb, which is just incredibly distracting. The reverb behind it sounds great. It's a nice little bit of tone and length for our vocal, but the S's just pop out way too much, and it just feels like an echo on the sibilance range. All we're going to do here is pull in a low-pass filter and roll it up till we're getting rid of that sibilance range, or at least taming it a little bit. We'll do it just on our reverb here to start.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls.
This move here helps to clean up the top end on our vocal, especially here so it's not so airy sounding. We want to get that air coming from our main vocal. That low mid area, that kind of 200 hertz area that you want, that low end on your vocal. And then the top end, the airiness, you want to come from your main vocal. You don't want that feeding in from a reverb. It works the same way when you're sending a snare to the reverb, right? You want the low end power to come from the snare itself, not to come from the reverb and echo out through kind of your room sound or whatever. Let's put this in with our vocal here, and we'll do an A-B on the top end, and then we'll do an A-B on the EQ as a whole.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be a memory. Yeah, running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll save my calls and be.
Using the Abbey Road reverb trick like this to get rid of all that low end, all that low mid area that's muddying up our reverb and muddying up our vocal, and all that top end that's emphasizing our sibilance range and making our reverb too airy sounding, helps to focus the reverb and focus your vocal. It helps you push the reverb a little bit louder so you get that length and you can get that width from your reverb without getting any extra sibilance or any extra low mid on your vocal. Last thing we're going to do here is we're going to pull this down to kind of sit it in with our vocal.
Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll say my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a sign, she wants me in her life, but I can't help thinking that I'm wasting her time. I'll never be the man she needs, so I'll say my calls and be a memory. Running and running, I've been chasing her around, but I can't pin this little dragon down. She gives me half of a.
Using the Abbey Road reverb trick here, we can sit our reverb easily in the track with our vocal, and we can actually push it a little bit louder because the range on the reverb is more focused. We don't get any of that extra sibilance, and you hear when I turned off the EQ there, the vocal got a little bit muddier sounding, and it was kind of a wide mud, right? Because our reverb is a little bit wide, so we get those low notes spread out on the vocal, which is a little bit too much and a little bit whirly sounding. I've never enjoyed the sound of kind of widespread low end, especially in a reverb like that. It gets messy very fast. So easy 2 steps here to implement the Abbey Road reverb trick. Put your EQ on your vocal, wipe off the low end first, so pull in your high pass filter and clean up everything you don't need in your vocal reverb, and then pull in your low pass filter and get rid of everything you don't need on the top end in your vocal reverb. I hope that was helpful for you. As I said previously, if you're ready to take your mixes to the next level and really start dialing in your workflow as an engineer, then I have just the tool for you, and it is completely free. It is my 7-step mixing checklist, and you can download it below and start creating more professional mixes in less time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.